kind of looking to the future, we are the recruiting side of things. But where do we go as a region from here?
Well, first of all, I don't think we stand still. There's you got today, you got tomorrow, and then you got the day after tomorrow. And, today we're going through a crisis that none of us have gone through before. We don't need to belabor that. I mean, Steve talked about that nobody's going to come through this unscathed, and he's absolutely right. But people will come out of it differently, whether that's different kinds of companies, that's different regions of the U.S., that's different countries in the world. And so we want to monitor that. And I think from CRDA's perspective, in addition to, following everything that's going on today and being available for our stakeholders and connections to state groups and the things all of us do every day, we're thinking about, when can we get back out there and do what we normally do? And a lot of that is unknown, but we want to be ready. We talked before about the 2 target niche industries that we're paying particular attention to. And so I think that's something that in all the chaos of today, somebody's got to be thinking about the day after tomorrow. We're trying to fulfill that role.
Well, we're going to try and wrap this up now. I got one last thing, and any of the 4 of you can take it to start. Is there anything else that before we sign off that you'd like, that I haven't asked you about, that you'd like to share in terms about maybe how your teams are doing? Anything that you just like to share before we wrap up?
I'd like to end with something pretty positive. The other thing to think about is, I'm still just super excited to be doing what we do where we're doing it. We were on a high, and not everywhere in the country, everywhere in the world has that for the starting point. So, Steve says everything's going to take a hit. So, but because we were at a pinnacle, that fall won't be as tough, and hopefully we'll bounce back quicker than we would, say, if we had been in a trough. So thankfully, times were good when this hit, and times were good here in Charleston. And so I'm very optimistic that, when we get through the end of this thing, we'll bounce quickly and we'll be back to good times before we know it.
I would chime in and second wholeheartedly what John just said. He came at it basically from the same angle that was on my mind too, which is that, our diversification that we've worked so hard on all these years, for the last 30 years basically, has really paid off. And I think it makes us more resilient than perhaps the next place. Now, we've got a lot of damage, in the visitor industry. We've got an interrupted, international supply chain. We've got some manufacturers that are hurt. But this, to me, feels a lot like Hugo, and it feels a lot like the Navy closure. But I would give us great odds, and I think that in due time we'll have this behind us and we'll be a stronger community for having done it.
I actually want to tap into Barry's wisdom. When all of this started to go down, he actually reached out to the Post and Courier to comment on some negative feedback that was coming back from industries being open and manufacturers still being open at normal business. So his reply was, as the case was in other national duress, it was our industry might that came to bear to solve the problem. And, we've already seen that coming to bear here, where the White House is solicited for industrial participation to help supply and manufacturing these needed goods. It's going to be our industrial will at large that's going to be the solution to this too. And I think what my colleagues have said, Charleston in our region here, we've been so blessed that we will probably come out of this just as strong.
So I'll point to one piece of news that's come out since the crisis, and the U.S. announced or published the figures on how many people are living each county, each region, each city, each state, and what the travel patterns are between, the migration patterns are between. And Charleston continues to grow at a slow, steady pace as we've grown for the last 30 years. Another about 2% growth. And Steve and John pointed to it. We're going to be in better shape than a lot of places when it comes to recovering from this, and the fact that the pipeline of talent still moving into this market which supports not only the strength in manufacturing, but some of our newer industries like IT and medical device and med tech. But I still think augurs well for the future. I mean, none of us have ever seen this. There's going to be a steep drop in productivity for a period of time, hopefully short, but I like our chances coming out of it. And the other thing I like is that as we've, in the good times, enjoyed the fruits of collaboration amongst regions and counties and states and the state agencies, I think that will serve us well coming out of this too.
As we close, I would say, Steve referenced Hugo and the Navy base closure and the Great Recession. And in all of those cases, I think it's the great teamwork between our public and private sector and organizations like ours coming together to really help move this region forward. Always, we're very resilient, and I don't think this will be any different. So, and having the opportunity to have you guys share for just a few minutes in the middle of what's a busy time is great. And I hope that this isn't the last conversation we have. Hopefully it's the last one we have on Zoom. Hopefully we're back to normal in-person meetings soon. But I thank you all for your time this afternoon, and we look forward to seeing you all in person soon. Thanks.